respected, distinguished guests, and devotees of the Lord. Vahe Guru Ji ka Khalsa, Vahe Guru Ji ki Fateh. At the outset, I offer my gratitude to the organizers for giving me this blessed opportunity to be here in this serene, holy, elevating atmosphere in this sacred Gurudwara premises. The subject of discussion is the concept of knowledge in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I would like to remind you of a particular incident when Romarola was a French Nobel laureate. He wrote to Rabindranath Tagore, I want to know about India, what shall I do? Rabindranath Tagore, himself a Nobel laureate, he wrote back to Romarola, if you want to know India, study Vivekananda. In him, everything is positive and nothing is negative. Here, if we want to know what exactly the Bhagavad Gita has to teach us, what exactly is the concept of knowledge in Bhagavad Gita, we have to study with all humility and reverence the lives of Guru Nanak Sahib and Guru Govind Singh Ji. These two great personalities embody the principles of knowledge as expounded by the Bhagavad Gita. When we study the life of Sri Guru Nanak Ji, we are amazed at his gentleness, at his humility, at his all-embracing universal love. That is what Gita talks about. Gita talks about a combination of Gnana, Bhakti and Nishkama Karma. If we study the life of Guru Govind Singh Ji, we find what a great hero he was, what a Nishkam Karma Yogi, the ideal of Karma Yoga he embodied. But my duty at present is to discuss this concept of knowledge in Gita. Let's not go into the technical details of epistemology. The speakers who spoke before me were extraordinarily scholarly. We learned a lot of things from them. As we all know, knowledge is power. Knowledge is wisdom. Knowledge is that which liberates us, which saves us from misery. So it is already discussed sensory knowledge, sensory perception, transcendental perception, etc. Here, according to Gita, it is consciousness which is fundamental. The source of knowledge is consciousness, Chaitanya, Chetana, Chit. Max Planck, a great scientist, he said, consciousness is primary, matter is secondary. The same thing was echoed by Einstein when he said, my religion consists of a humble admiration of the illimitable superior spirit which reveals itself in the minute details that are perceived by our frail and feeble minds. This deeply emotional conviction forms my idea of God. So, here, knowledge is knowledge of unity in diversity. Gita tells about the Creator, that is the supreme ultimate reality, the Jiva, the individual soul, and the world, the creation. So, knowledge, Swami Vivekananda puts it this way, it is self-discovery, discovering the knowledge that is within. What exactly we do in this process of discovery? We just remove the veil, we just uncover. So the knowledge which is self-existing, which is luminous, which is self-effulgent, manifests. Just wanted to tell you something about Bhagavad Gita. There is hardly any difference between Sri Guru Granth Sahib, Bhagavad Gita, or the Holy Quran or the Bible, whatever you say. But there is some irresistible charm, some appeal about Bhagavad Gita. It has an universal appeal. You know, physics is not a sectarian science. Mathematics is not a dogmatic science. It does not belong to a particular creed or a particular caste or a particular country. They are universal, meant for all time, meant for all men and women. It's a science of mankind. Exactly, Bhagavad Gita is a science, is a scripture of the entire mankind. Here I am reminded of what Schopenhauer said. Schopenhauer was a great German philosopher. We know Gita is the gist of Upanishads. Srimad Bhagavad Gita su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Schopenhauer says, Upanishads have been the solace of my life and they will be the solace of my death. Thoreau was a great American thinker. He would say, every day I bathe myself in the cosmogonal philosophy of Gita and get myself refreshed. We know Mahatma Gandhi ji was very fond of telling, I lost my mother when I was a young boy, but I didn't feel the loss of my mother as Bhagavad Gita guided me like a loving mother. He said, my life was full of external tragedies, but I never got affected by any of these external tragedies. Whenever I studied a verse of Bhagavad Gita, it would give me deep solace. So that is the reason why these tragedies have not left an indelible impression on my psyche. So that is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. Here, the Lord Krishna, he harmonizes all the four yogas. It is not just Gnana, it's a combination of Gnana, Karma, Bhakti, and Dhyana. So it's an integral yoga, an all-comprehensive yoga. So we know how knowledge arises, knowledge and the means, the valid means of knowledge. These were all discussed by our previous speakers. Here, we just want to know what exactly Gita tells about the supreme reality, the ultimate reality, the Gnana of the Creator. According to Gita, which is the gist of the Upanishads, God is a conscious principle, is an infinite conscious principle. One of the speakers said, God is infinite. It's an infinite cosmic principle. I am too small a person to discuss about the infinity of God. That is very true. As somebody put it beautifully, learned ignorance is the beginning of spirituality and the end of philosophy. Learned ignorance is the beginning of spirituality and the end of philosophy or theology. So Socrates would always say, know thyself, know thyself. So here the Gita stresses on this knowledge, the Tattva Gnana, what exactly is the nature of our Creator. As I said, is a cosmic conscious principle who had two dimensions, a Paraprakriti and a Paraprakriti. The world came into being. So this individual being belongs to this Paraprakriti. The world Panchamahabhutas and all belong to Aparaprakriti. And next is the individual Jiva. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What's my real nature? What is my relationship with God? This is beautifully discussed in Gita. That is what is real knowledge. So this Gita extols knowledge. As I said, knowledge is the unitary, the intuitive experience of oneness, solidarity of existence, that I am one with the universe. I, as an individual soul, I am a spark of the divine. I am a divine spark. So this divinity is hidden within all of us. Gita never tells that we are sinners. Rather, it says we are all potentially divine and the goal is to manifest this divinity at every step. So, what are the advantages of this gnana, this supreme knowledge of oneness of existence? Sri Krishna says, Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakritamah sarvam gnanaplave naiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Krishna says, a man might be a great sinner, he might have committed heinous crimes, but if he takes refuge in God, if he gets this knowledge, he will cross this ocean of samsara or transmigrated existence. Gnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. This fire of knowledge destroys all impurities. It is the greatest purifier. Nahi gnanena sadrisham pavitram namuchyate. Gnana is the greatest purifying agent. When we get this unitary knowledge that I am a part of the divine and I am inseparable from this universe, I don't have a separate existence, I am one with all. When this sense of ego disappears, when this sense of separateness disappears, he or she gets established in the supreme yoga. So, how to get this gnana? So, Shraddhavan labhate gnanam tatpara sanyatendriyaha gnanam labdva param shantim achirena adhigachyati. Shraddhavan, reverence, faith, trust in the Guru, trust in the scriptures, trust in, for example, Sri Guru Granth Sahib, all the 10 Gurus, they embodied these highest principles. So, this is the practical utility or relevance of knowledge. I didn't go to the technical details, but this is the practical utility. By knowing this supreme knowledge, by knowing my oneness with the Creator, it helps in my everyday life. I become stronger and stronger, nobler and nobler. All petty-mindedness, all mean-mindedness, all sense of separateness goes away. We realize that we are all a part of the global family, which has been so beautifully embodied in the life and teachings of Sri Guru Nanak Ji and Guru Gobind Singh. Swami Vivekananda would go into ecstasy whenever he spoke about Guru Nanak Ji. He would always say, such gentleness, such humility, such sweetness, such universal, all-embracing love. Guru Nanak Ji never excluded anybody from his orbit. It was an all-inclusive motherly love. And when he spoke about Guru Gobind Singh Ji, he would say, each one of you must follow the footsteps of Guru Gobind Ji. If you want to serve India, if you want to love India, each one of you must follow the footsteps of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So this is a great place, and I must congratulate the organizers for having organized this beautiful Gnana Yagna. So once again, I offer my humble pranams at the feet of all the 10 Gurus, Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Vahe Guru Ji ka Khalsa, Vahe Guru Ji ka Fateh.